Hi everybody, it's Angie from Trips with Angie, and this is my first video in my series about our 7-night cruise on the Majestic Princess to Canada, New England. In this video, I'm going to share with you our first day on board. We arrived in Boston a night early, and if you're flying into Boston, I recommend opening that window shade for the last 10 minutes before landing. It's beautifully scenic as you fly over where the ocean meets the city and you land right on the water. In fact, when you get on your cruise ship, you're going to be incredibly close to the airport. And the captain told us that they actually have to call the airport to delay flights from landing because the ship has to pass through the flight patterns or the landing route into the Boston airport. Our flight, of course, was delayed, as all flights seem to be lately. We landed at 1:25 p.m. and we were in a taxi by 2 p.m. We had about a 15 to 20 minute drive around the airport looking for a parking spot and a little bit of delay when the door wouldn't open to the airplane, but we got through it. Now, when we leave an airport, one of the big decisions to make is whether or not you're going to take a taxi or an Uber. So we usually pull up Uber and Lyft apps, look at what's pricing between the two. But in this case, we were in a hurry. Our flight was already delayed and we were ready to get to the hotel. So we just headed right to a taxi. And that usually is the fastest. Taxis are waiting there for you, except if you're landing during a rush hour. So like in the early mornings or in the late evenings. But we walked right up. A taxi came up about 3 minutes later and we were on our way to the hotel. For a price comparison, I did pull up how much Uber would have been during the time we were leaving, and the Uber was $30.91. We ended up paying $37.15 for the taxi. So about a $7 difference, but to us it was worth it not to have to track down where the rideshare app picked up at the Boston airport and be able just to walk right out into a taxi. For this pre-night, we stayed at one of our favorite hotels, the Marriott Copley Plaza. We love the location of this hotel. There are so many things you can walk to within a mile and a half, the Boston Common, Fenway Park, so great location. Now, it's not close to the port. It's about a 15-minute drive to the port, so it really depends what your priorities are, if you're there for some Boston sightseeing or you just want to be right next to the port. We headed to some of our favorite places in Boston: Atlantic Fish Company, Bukowski Tavern, Sweet Cheeks Barbecue, and Little Whale Oyster House during our stay. And of course, we had to take in a game at Fenway Park. I highly recommend scheduling some Fenway into your pre-cruise time, whether it's a tour or heading to one of the games. Boarding day then arrived. We received previous communication from Princess that boarding would be delayed on our sailing because the ship was coming into the U.S. for the first time after spending some time overseas. And that meant a Coast Guard inspection. There was also an immigration inspection and potentially a public health inspection. So they said don't arrive at the port before 12:30. We said no problem, and we decided to have lunch in Boston, which is not a hardship, and we headed to the port around 1:30, 2 o'clock. We arrived at the port at 1:50 to a huge line and rumors that they hadn't even started letting people onto the ship. We got into the line at 1:49 p.m. and we didn't make it on board the ship until 4 p.m. And our friends asked us, like, how does this rank as boarding? You know, I've been on over 100 cruises. How did this rank? And I said it was absolutely the worst boarding we've ever had. You know, the 2-hour wait, but there was no communication. There was no water. There was no information about what was going on. It was just basically like, stand in line and maybe you'll get on. So we knew why, which was nice. We knew that it was because of all these extra inspections from being overseas, but it was still a bit miserable. Now, luckily, there were some benches that people could sit on and wait. They were doing a good job of helping those who had canes or had other mobility challenges to expedite their turn in the line, but it was a long 2 hours waiting to get on board. But then we were on board. So we got on deck 7 and we headed straight to the first chairs we could find, which was the Ocean Terrace. We pulled up the Princess app, we watched the video, and then we headed to our muster station, which was right there at the Ocean Terrace. Then it was time to head to our room. On this cruise, we are in a mini suite, and here, let me show you around. This is M215 on the 15th deck. It's a mini suite. As you head in, you'll find your life jackets in the top shelf of the closet, a large walk-in closet with a cupboard with several shelves. Always check to make sure the safe works before you put your valuables inside. In the bathroom, we have the shower tub combo, and they do have the handheld shower, so it can be a little bit higher, and then it's just much easier to maneuver. They do include a shampoo conditioner combo, body wash, and lotion. I recommend bringing your own shampoo and conditioner. Each side of the bed has a nightstand, but there's only USB plugs on one side. You have the nice desk area, the sleeper sofa. There is a curtain that goes in between the sofa and the desk and where the main bed is located. You have a small mini fridge. This does not get medication cold, so you would need to work with guest services to get a fridge that gets cold enough. And then you have your balcony. It's a little short for the chairs, but it has great views, clear bottom. You have a lot of privacy, and then just a small overhang. We unpacked a bit. Now, the larger suitcases were all delayed. The captain even made an announcement about it because there had been a delay in loading the luggage into the ship. After unpacking, we headed to our 6 p.m. Crown Grill reservation. On this cruise, we have the Princess Premier package, and that includes unlimited specialty dining. We made all of our specialty dining reservations in advance. Personally, I find calling the Dine Line to be the easiest way to make those reservations, especially if you're traveling with multiple cabins. Otherwise, you can just make them in the app. We had a really nice dinner at Crown Grill. I ordered some of my favorites, the black and blue French onion soup, and of course I love the cheese bread they serve there. This time I got the filet and it was cooked perfectly. It could add a little more seasoning, but overall I was really happy with it. I enjoyed the side of the creamed spinach. I skipped dessert for a cup of hot mint tea, but everyone said that the desserts were really good, especially the chocolate trifle. I will warn you, it did take our party of 7 about 2 hours to get through dinner, but most people ordered 2 appetizers, an entree, and a dessert. So I think that's pretty fair, especially for a larger party on the first night after the crew had had such a difficult day. After dinner, we headed down to the piazza for one of my absolute favorite events that Princess does, and that is the Princess World Orchestra, where they pull musicians from all the different bands on board and they play a set of music together. And it was phenomenal. Here, let me give you a peek. So that was our first day. Time to head back to the cabin. We were pretty tired, so we called it an early night. Now, one little tip, on my side of the bed, there are no outlets. So what I did is I brought my battery pack over so I could charge my phone and still have my phone next to me in case I needed to check the time or I just woke up early, that it was right there beside me. Now, today we are docking in Portland, Maine, and we have a really fun day on tap. We're gonna go learn about lobster fishing and visit some of our favorite restaurants and breweries. So if you want to tag along, be sure to subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions about the Majestic Princess or our boarding process, and I can answer them in a future video. Thanks.